Hello, good evening, and welcome to the Talkin Kop for this Tuesday night. I'm Gav, and with me I have got Seany, I have got Keith, and I'm delighted to say Dave Downie from the Blue Room podcast, who's going to go through all things Everton with us a little bit later on. Tonight we're going to talk about Wolves, we're going to talk about Everton, we're going to talk about a couple of the fixtures at the weekend, and anything else that comes in on the chat, we can talk about. There's no problem there. But we're going to start with Aston Villa. An incredible run at home. I think they've won 13 games in a row at home or something like that. It's gone stretching back into last season. Went to Spurs at the weekend. Went a goal down. Looked a bit ropey. Mad high line, which we'll get onto in a bit. Got back into it. Won the game and took advantage of Spurs, I suppose, missing a couple of players. Keith, I'll come to you first. The reason I want to speak about them is because we're looking at the top of this league, and we're looking at City, Liverpool, Arsenal, Newcastle, maybe not Chelsea. They've dropped off, But you look at United, and you're thinking usual suspects. With Newcastle coming up on the rails very quickly over the last season or so. But is there a place here for the likes of a Villa to get in there and rob a spot in the top four, or grab a spot in the top four? Because, I know people are saying it's early in the season, but it's not. We're 13 games in. They're winning home games. They're winning big away games. And they look like they're really settled under Unai Emery. They look like they know what they're at. If it's a bit risky at times, yeah. But they look a very settled, well-drilled and threatening team when you watch them play.
Yeah, I think they're a cracking team. I think there is definitely a place for them in the top four, because I think the idea of there being now a big 6 or 7 now, I think that's a bit of a myth, because I think Chelsea are obviously way off. We're expecting them to wake up at any minute, but they don't. Manchester United are not a great team. They will probably finish in the top four, but they're certainly gettable. I think Spurs, I don't trust them until they prove otherwise. Yeah. And I just think there is an opportunity there for an Aston Villa. I think the likes of Brighton, who've been sort of flirting with these higher positions over the last year or two, which is brilliant, and De Zerbi's a great coach, and they've got great players, and their system is amazing, their scouting is amazing. Aston Villa are different. They've got, in my opinion, a really, really elite manager, a very underrated manager. I think his time in England has been tainted by his Arsenal stint, which they just got on him for saying good evening, and that was it. He was a laughing
Follow
stock.
Wenger, didn't he?
No matter what he done, he was on a hiding to nothing. I think Unai Emery is brilliant. I think he's proved it almost everywhere he's gone. And I think he's got the ideal type of club in England. As in, you wouldn't say, right, Arsenal was a big job after Wenger. You wouldn't probably want them in some of the other teams. But when he gets in Spain, he done it with the Sevillas and the Villarreals. When you get a team that are just below that top tier, that's his sweet spot. And I think Aston Villa, they have a few bob. They have a good squad. They've good players there. And the thing that impresses me with them, they've great individual players. I think Douglas Luiz is one of the players of the season so far. I think he's been absolutely amazing for them. But not many people like him. Emi Martinez, I think, is a difference maker. And when you've got a keeper like him in goal, I think it always gives you a chance. I look at Arsenal, and the reason I think Arsenal will fall away is because I don't trust their goalkeepers. I think they're probably decent level, but they're not an Alisson or an Ederson. And I think they're the sort of the game changers that you need. The same Manchester United, Onana, head case. Chelsea, they spent all this money and they've somehow got bleeding Robert Sanchez in goal. And I think Aston Villa have a really good keeper. They have a really good defensive unit. They have a midfield that can defend and attack. And then they've got Ollie Watkins, who is, while he is fairly streaky, he does do a lot. He does a lot of numbers. He does a lot of business. So I think Aston Villa have a very, very good chance of breaking into that top four, depending on what other teams do.
Yeah. Dave, I was listening to your podcast the other day, and I think it was yourself mentioned something where when you look at the teams around you, where you think Everton should be, or you used to, compare them to. You said like Villa in the Midlands, and I think it might have been Spurs in London. Yeah. And you look, as an Everton fan, you always look where are Villa, where are Spurs. The sort of way, and you kind of take your lead off that. But Villa a while back were kind of like, oh, they came into the league and they spent 160 million and they stayed up on the last day, and it was people like, what are they at? But they've seemed to really have their ducks in a row here with the players they brought in, the players they've held on to, and the likes of Douglas Luiz, the manager they brought in. He's brought in a style of play that is nearly seamless to what he had in the squad. He hasn't gone mad on changing loads and loads and loads.
Yeah.
He just, I'm not saying it's by chance, but Villa just seem to have a direction that they're going in. Players that are really performing. They're missing probably the most experienced centre half. Is out since August when they got beaten by Newcastle. It might have been the opening day of the season. And then you've Watkins that they just seem to play through all the time. They seem to have a real direction about them, Villa. And have they got a squad good enough for the rest? Probably not. But they look as drilled and focused as any team I've seen this season, really.
Yeah, you're spot on, and I think the really interesting thing is that they're really nice to watch as well. I never thought I'd be saying that about Unai Emery's side, because he's traditionally known for, a back flat forward who are going to keep a load of clean sheets throughout the season, but not necessarily score a load of goals themselves. I think when you watch them now, they're really easy on the eye. Completely agree with what Keith was saying there, except I'd probably go a little bit further with Ollie Watkins, because I think he's probably been one of the best strikers in the Premier League for a year, 18 months maybe. I remember we were heavily linked with him before he left. Brentford, wasn't it? Before he went there.
Yeah.
And he came in relatively cheap. Looks too small basically for a side that is going to whip the ball in a lot. And they've got Danny Ings is still there. They've got him on the bench, haven't they? But with Watkins, I just see somebody he's clinical, just one touch shoot. If you look at that goal against Spurs, it's probably right inside what you expect from him when you see him play. Tielemans played a lovely little ball into his left hand side, knocked it once, scores. He's that simple of a striker. He's very easy on the eye, someone like that. But the point you made there that I said the other day, it makes me feel jealous when I see Villa where they are. It makes me feel jealous when I see Spurs where they are. And for that, I mean, Everton for many, many years, you guys probably wouldn't be as close as when it was said, but it was always referred to as Everton are the northern Spurs, Spurs are the southern Everton, just simply because they were that midfield side. They were that club that was always second best, finishing fifth, getting in the Europa League. I think I look at Aston Villa now, and they're probably a step higher up than that. I tipped them at the start of the season, just thinking that everything they have seems relatively calm as well, and I think that's a bit of an understatement with people saying that. I think when you've got a club, typically Everton want to throw at the front of the queue right now in terms of a club that's going through any sort of crisis. Villa, since they let go of Gerrard, I think you're right what you said there. He got a little bit. I don't want to go against him here, but there was a little bit of luck that he had when he came in. Emery, that is. And I think he's just enhanced what they had. You look at Pau Torres in defence. I mean, the lads he's brought in, the goalkeeper as well, completely agree with. I look at them and see solidity. It seems like they've just, like I think you said there, they've got all the ducks in order right now. And the 2 points off the top of the league, aren't they? I mean, that's quite ridiculous when you're 13 games in. I think it's been exciting as Everton, taking away the Everton stuff. We're in a position now where the league is really, really exciting. I mean, you mentioned how shit United have been, but they're only 6 points off top now. It's I could definitely see in them 4th, 5th, 6th. You also mentioned Brighton a little bit there, and De Zerbi as well. He's doing a fantastic job. I think the problem he's got is the best players they end up with are going to be bought. That just seems to be what's going to happen there. I think they've got one of the most exciting new strikers in Evan Ferguson. He looks outstanding, that kid. So that sort of top 6. I think you could probably say fairly. There's a little, maybe 2 or 3 sides more than that, and that's why I think it's going to be a really exciting season this year.
Seany, when you look at the spine of them, Emi Martinez, you've Conte, you've Pau Torres, Then you've Douglas Luiz, McGinn always puts in a shift. Kamara is there, come in highly rated. You go through all these, Shawnee, and then you look at Ollie Watkins up front. Diaby's playing out of his fucking skin. Bailey seems to have found a spot where he either starts a game and does an hour or comes on for the last 30 and impacts games. Tielemans was being floated around every club in the country in the summer. He's come in and just comes in and does bits for them every fucking week, Shawnee. You know, it's some teams when you see them up there, you think, they're up there, but when they drop off, you know, but these just seem very honest, you know, committed players that know what they're doing. It feels like they're building something rather than they're at their pinnacle and they'll fall away because this is just a flash in the pan. That's what it feels like with me for Villa, and I don't think I'm over egging them by saying that.
No, I think they're massively understated. I think it's cool hanging out to wax lyrical about Brighton and the directors of football and the manager, the Zerbi, and the type of players that they are, and everyone coming to snatch their players. Like, they've won one league game since September, and people would have you believe that Villa are trekking behind them. Villa are exactly what you see in the team. They're a squad full of really good players managed by a really good manager, and he has a system there where he's utilising each and every player to the best of their ability. And there's some like Emi Martinez, World Cup winner, Pau Torres, Spain international, Douglas Luiz, Brazilian international, Ollie Watkins had to find himself in the England team, and Diaby, a super signing. It's all gone well, and one of their better players has been injured, like Jacob Ramsey. Like, I think everyone on this podcast knows how big of a fan I am of Jacob Ramsey. They're still missing some players to come back. So, yeah, I'm not at all surprised by Villa. Like, one thing I always find myself saying every week after that, we battered them at Anfield, and I'm thinking, Jesus, that looks a better result every time. I see it, because the teams they've been picking up points against, and they're really, really difficult to beat at home. They've struggled a little bit on the road, but that's fair with Europe as well. They are going to find themselves like that. And I think it comes down to as well, Gav, they've an owner with a load of money and a little bit of ambition, and it goes a long way. They're never shy in the transfer window. But it's not for one to just chuck money about. They've done smart business with the players that they brought in. That when they went big, but they were convinced of it. Like, I think they might command the big fee for Douglas Luiz in the summer. I know there's plenty of teams after him, and then I'd back them to do the job to kind of bring someone in, because like Brighton as well, their recruitment has been very good. So no, I'm not at all surprised. I think they're actually in the top four at the moment. Am I wrong in saying that?
Yeah, I think they're four.
Yeah, they're level on points with us.
Yeah, exactly. Look, and I'd consider Liverpool after having a really good start to the season, considering the fixtures that we've played, and Villa have been brilliant. And like Dave said, it's not like it's pragmatic and just effective football. They play really attractive football. Like that was a brilliant game of football yesterday between themselves and Spurs. They could have easily found themselves 3-2, 3-1 or 3-0 down at one stage, but they play ourselves in, and Emery has pedigree. Like, I think outside of Guardiola and Klopp, he's more pedigree than anyone in the league. So, look, I go as far as saying, I reckon if you would have given Emery that Arsenal team last year going away to Anfield, he probably would have won the league. He probably would have seen the league through. I do believe he's that good of a manager. So, again, I'm not at all surprised. I think they're massively downplayed. I think there's teams getting kudos way ahead of them.
They've the third most points in 2023 so far.
Yeah, I was going to say that as well. Like, you see, he comes in, he picks Villa up off the floor, and is basically, I think they're averaging 2.5 points a game since he's come in, something like that. They're thereabouts, which is Champions League form. Like that's Champions League form. And if the coefficient holds up, which I think it will, because I see the likes of Villa and Brighton maybe going deep in Europe. Like, top 5 might be enough. Top 5 might be enough to see them in the Champions League. And again, I think if they were to get into the Champions League, the way their owner is, he'd broaden the horizons, and they would look to bring people in. Because, like, not just saying it to take swipes. Like, Aston Villa is a bigger football club than Man City, if you ask me. It's a bigger football. Yeah, that's just the way I say it. Like, there's more history and heritage there. They're a bigger club. So yeah, it's not that I have a soft spot for Villa because they can be a right pain in the hole when they want to be, but they're a really good side with a really good coach, and when you look at the table, it shows completely.
The coaching thing is a big thing because Gerrard's there, and if you look at the squad that's there now, Gerrard has the vast majority of them, and they just aren't playing for him. Whereas Emery is seen to come in and go, listen, this is what we do, and maybe Gerrard's well respected as a footballer, but Emery's really Emery was just fucking picking up your UEFA cups like he was going down the shops, do you know what I mean? It was a joke, you know what I mean? And he went off and went back somewhere, and I think he might have went away with Sevilla. Did he go back and just?
He won them with Sevilla. He won with Villarreal. He got Arsenal to a final. He's
so
great.
He knows exactly what he's at, and I think Seany mentions the owner, and there was kind of stuff thrown at the owner when they come up about spending all this money, but when you look, they've clearly went and said, look, we need to get as close to best in class as we can here, because we're willing to put the money in, but we seem to be putting the money in, and it's just maybe just not the right player, but he's starting to pick them. He's starting to pick them and go, put him in there. We don't need a clean sweep here. Just put him in there. Put a Pau Torres in there. Get a Diaby. We need more pace wide. Get him in there. And he's starting to just tick them over. And like Seany said, if they end up at the top table of European football with more revenue coming in, and Unai Emery given more funds to maybe turn around and go, you know what, Matty Cash isn't right back, I'm going to go and get, and stuff like that. I think there's a huge potential for them there. And, we kind of, we're easy to write off teams after 6, 7, 8 games, maybe right, but we're 13 in here. You know what I mean? And someone said there, I think they have City and Arsenal over the next couple of games, and that's going to be, you'll see exactly where they are. If they take 4 points out of that, they're as strong as anyone in the league.
Yeah.
They're as strong as anyone in the league.
Sorry, I was just going to say, he's not fucking around as well. I was covering his interview at the weekend, and I think their away record, I think they've only won, I think it was only 2 or 3 that they've won, and he was seething how they've played away compared to all those wins they've had at home. So you think you're going away to Spurs, a club that Villa are right now, which we're not talking top tier like yourselves and City yet, but for him to be talking that sort of language at this stage with the squad he's got compared to those teams above him, I think that says a hell of a lot of what he's trying to do, what he's expecting to do around there.
I think, like Seany says, the size of the club, they wouldn't feel out of place going to a Champions League as a club. I think they've won the European Cup twice. And they won't feel out of place. But a lot of people go, "Oh, Villa in the Champions League." That's just recency bias. That's just people that think football existed only from 1992 onwards. They wouldn't look out of place for me, and I just think the infrastructure they have there, the manager they have, the players, the level they're at now, and what they could potentially go to while at Villa, or what they could bring in to supplement what they have there.
Another thing, Gav, is you're talking about supplement there. Like, they've one of the most prolific academies in the country. Like, they sold 2 lads there in the summer for nearly 40 million. One down to one to Sheffield United, Cameron Archer. I think they got 26, 27 million for him. And I think they got 18 or 19 million for Aaron Ramsey, who was Jacob Ramsey's younger brother. So they're well run. It's not like some sort of the elephant in the tree analogy where you're like, right, they're there, but how the fuck did they get there? Like, it's very thought out and planned process. I think they, like you said, the best in class manager. I genuinely think that if you are sitting down with Villa, Unai Emery is about the highest caliber of coach that they could have got. They were mad to get Alonso as well before they even got him. They were looking at him, so it shows you that they do have their fingers on the pulse in terms of what's going on. So, look, we'd counted on the podcast a few times, and there's a lot of reasons to be optimistic around Aston Villa at the moment.
What a podcast he runs, by the way, the Villa podcast. It's just literally him and his brother just having the best time, just fucking taking the mick out of everything, and mostly themselves and Villa. In fairness, they're not just having a go at anyone they feel like it. Listen,
one thing I'd say about Villa before we move off,
you do this all the time to me now.
I know,
I'm about to move on.
I've let you go.
Yeah, I know. Yeah.
No, I think they do need a bit of luck with injuries with Ollie Watkins, because I don't think they have a lot of depth up front. I think I think John Duran is the next taxi off the rank, and he's not going to be a prolific striker. So I think
He's a bit of a
maybe it's
lunatic,
something they'll
isn't he?
address. He's all right. He's young and he's raw, but
Yeah.
I think it might be something that he might need to address in January to sustain a push, because look, players pick up injuries.
Yeah.
It can happen,
And
and that could really
they
derail
lost
them.
Danny Ings, didn't they? They let Danny
That's-
Ings go.
yeah.
And
Ings went to West Ham, yeah, but I think the
Last
problem
January,
there
wasn't
was it was a bit of a strange one when he came in, because it was like, and I don't know if it was Gerrard who brought him in, but they were shoehorning 2 strikers in, and it was like Ollie Watkins suffered from it because he was pushed out wide. So I think it worked out well that Danny Ings was moved on, but you do need something in there just in case it goes tits up.
yeah, I think that's fair. Before we move on, you're probably going to see in the live chat as you're watching these little membership gifts thrown up there, right? What happens is we've thrown in 5, someone else has thrown in 5. If you see them on the screen, just click on them and make sure you opt in for get membership gifts. They get spread out automatically, but if you have it turned on that you can accept membership gifts, the chance there you might get one. So just do that if you can, right? Staying in the Midlands, Wolves, and I have sympathy for nobody. I'm going to be honest with you. I don't have a soft spot for Villa, anyone. I fucking hate every one of them, all of them. I have no problem saying that, right? But I might have to rethink it on Wolves, because Jesus Christ, this team. Gary O'Neill is trying his absolute best. He's lost a couple of players. He's injuries, this, that, and the other. And it just seems every week that the postman goes into the Premier League, picks up the registered letter, and heads straight for Molineux every fucking Monday morning. It's bizarre what's going on. Dave, I'll come to you first. Like, it's very easy to turn around and go, your own club is being fucking done against, and look at this and look at that. And, you know, we've an Everton situation at the moment. Liverpool a couple of weeks ago are scoring goals that are grand, and that they're going after just mess it up. But when you take the blue tinted or the red tinted glasses off and look at Fulham or look at Wolves, it's not a case of that happens at all, it evens itself out. It's not the case here with Wolves. They have been absolutely done in. I can think of United away, I think Bournemouth away late on with a penalty that was or wasn't, or a goal that was or wasn't. And then you see this at Fulham last night where there's 2 penalties that I think it's just like, what is going on? Dave, like, how is Gary O'Neill keeping his head? Because there's another side to this that I want to get to him a bit, but how is he keeping his head in all this?
Yeah, I hope the other side you're going to mention of him is how good he is as a manager, because I think that's a common theme that we've spoken about here, what we were saying about Emery. But initially what you said there about what goes on with them, it's interesting because the sort of conversation we had last time I spoke to you was before the Everton 10 points shit that's going ahead now. We were talking, I was saying that Everton just seemed like the easy ducks in the water, the easy one that's just going to be taken not seriously by anybody else, like what happens at City, which you guys have spoken about to the nth degree, given that there's been no sort of suspension or anything like that that's been done with them. And to connect what I'm saying about Wolves to all this is they look like an easy target, and they look like an easy target because they brought in a manager relatively zero experience to come in, club that wasn't doing so well. There's a slight touch on Villa maybe a while ago, that sort of comparison. They brought in a manager who I'm really, really impressed. I could see him going a long way, that lad. And I just think it's really, really easy if you're a referee who automatically have bias in their heads. There's no question about that. We see it consistently. You know, every single week there's some sort of shit like this that happens. It feels like Wolves are getting it more because they're the easy ones to do it to. You open up a paper tomorrow morning, you're not going to see any issue that's happened to Wolves in the back page. You know, it's going to be something that you see that's further down the list. And that's because of the reputation they have as a club, in my opinion. And they've got a manager, I think, can start to put that right. But I don't know if you heard his interview last night. It was one of the best interviews I've seen in a long, long time. He did 5 minutes on Sky. He spoke honestly about it. He said, I went and had 5 minutes with the referee in the dressing room. When did you hear that, by the way? He went and spoke to him. He said he spoke to him calmly. It was pleasing to watch. It was a really easy watch, and it was a really surprising one at the same time because he was calm within the anger that he was coming out with. He's like, what's happened with those 2 penalties? It's just ridiculous. The referee didn't take control. I thought he said the traditional stuff as well, like where he's saying VAR shouldn't be here. Howard Webb should be doing various things and all that. But he was so open it was really refreshing to and seeing a couple of lads nodding their heads then. He seemed to me like somebody who would address this as a manager in the best way you could possibly get against the authorities. Because what you'd see most weeks is your manager, whoever's manager it is, when you've had something done to you, you can imagine them being on the phone first thing in the morning to the FA saying, fuck this, fuck that, what's gone on, really hot-headed stuff. This guy looks really laid back in that regard, and I'm thinking maybe that's the only way you get something from these fellas. If he's gone in and spoke to a referee, how many would you see from another manager in the Premier League who's going off the heads when you've had something go against you in the VAR? They're not going to be able to do that. So I think he's got a decent brain between his ears, that lad. And going back to what you said, mate, it's been outrageous what they've got. Whenever I've watched them, it seems like they're just an easy target for many of these with the VAR and with the referees.
I think I remember watching them in a 3:00 game away at Luton, and I think they go down to 10 men. I can't remember your man's name in midfield. He deserved it. Neto puts them 1-0 up, and I think Luton get a penalty in the last minute of injury time, and I think that was a bit dubious as well. I think it hits his leg, comes up and hits his arm or something. And I'm trying to remember because there's that many incidents; it's hard to remember them all. But
2 weeks in a row on the bounce, the exact same penalty was given, and then he got an apology they got an apology for the pen that was given away at Luton, and then it happens again next week.
Yeah,
and then he got another apology.
Was it Bournemouth? Something happened as well.
He gets another apology last night, and I think in a certain way, Wolves are fortunate, like Everton, that Luton, Sheffield United, and Burnley are in this league because.
Oh, not yet, mate. Not yet.
I think he's alright.
No, seriously. Like, I'm not taking swipes. I'm just saying that, like, if they were going, these sort of decisions were going against them, and you're scrapping for points at the bottom of the table, with the amount of apologies that they've had from the PGMOL that have been confirmed, like. Surely you could make a case that the fucking integrity is compromised because they're getting apology after apology every week. Like, it's every other week with Wolves. And I just think Gary O'Neill looked like to me last night going, I'm just going to have to go charm offensive here because we're not fucking getting that anyway. And if I can kind of create a narrative in the media that I'm all right about it, refs might be subconsciously fucking a bit more lenient when it comes to decisions that are going away. Like last night was a fucking joke. I had no idea what was going on.
But the first penalty, the guy wins the ball, hits it off the Fulham player, and he goes. And the second one, I think it's Harry Wilson might be going away and goal, and I'm like, what? How are you doing this?
I seen a thing. I was watching a thing earlier when you were discussing the refs, and I didn't know that. I don't know whether any of you knew, and this just summed it up for me. And I just laughed my bollocks off. For the first half an hour of the Spurs game yesterday, on Sunday, the VAR wasn't working.
Yeah,
you had no connection to the VAR van.
Correct.
In Stockley Park.
Yeah.
What the fuck?
Yeah.
Like this is supposed to be the premier organisation, not in England, in European football.
Like, who by the way, do their fixtures 8 to 12 weeks in advance. So it's not like someone rang and went, have you a VAR unit there, send it down to the London Star, the fucking Spurs Stadium. It's insane. It's fucking insane.
You know how wound up it gets me when people do. Like,
that's why we try to tread around referees with you.
But I knew like, last week when everything was coming out, right, and I hate Liverpool accounts that do it. It does me head in that, fucking Chris Kavanagh's brother has a season ticket holder. Like, that's bollocks. If it's not, Chris Kavanagh got nothing wrong in that game the other day, but it was always going to be someone else, another ref somewhere else. It doesn't matter where they're from. It doesn't. You could honestly put fucking Sir Alex Ferguson ref for Manchester United games. It's a VAR. It's supposed to be an assistant ref. They're actually reffing the games for them now. Yeah. They need the whole thing needs to be fucking.
Well, the funny thing about
it's all well good giving out about decisions that go against Liverpool. It's fucking easy to do that in your own team. It's easy to be fucking, what's the word, tribalistic, and it makes it gobshite out of people sometimes. But when you see the shite that's going on with Wolves, like,
it's disgraceful.
Well, you know what I thought the worst part of it was last night?
Players and managers' reputations on the line here.
Oh, livelihoods. And you'll see a manager like Gary O'Neill could end up getting relegated with Wolves, and people go, I'm not taking a chance on him.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And he reckons he's about 7 points down the season. And I think that's about a fair number. But the thing about it for me last night was, and I'm going to throw a different angle at Keith in a second. But the thing about it for me last night was the first penalty he gives, right? And it's like, oh yeah, right. No, it's a penalty. We're staying with it. Blah blah blah. The second one, he doesn't give, right? And it's literally like watching the decision against Ashley Young the day before. That's what it's like. Because the referee in that game doesn't give it, runs over to the screen and goes, it's a penalty. And then in the Fulham one, he doesn't give it. And then it's like, oh, check that. He runs over and he's literally fucking, you know he's going to give it. And the reason, and it's literally like, oh, I'm over here checking. I have to give this now because they've called me over, so they think it's a penalty. And
Why
it was
would
like a
he
rerun of it, and it was nearly
Yeah.
like, I have to give this because yesterday there was a similar one where a referee didn't give it and was brought to the screen. If I don't do this, they're going to go shout at me for consistency. But that's not what consistency is. Consistency is getting the decisions correct and having a head on your shoulders about it. It's not, oh, that one was given yesterday, I'm giving that one today, even though the circumstance of how the referee moves in the whole thing is similar. It's not the same situation, Fulham or Everton. The one against Ashley Young is a penalty because he's lazy and sticks his foot out instead of running with Martial. That's the truth. The one with Fulham, he's just standing there and your man goes over. And it's meant to be enough to bring a fella over. It's not any little contact. It has to be enough to throw you on the ground. And I don't think it was yesterday. But Keith, the interesting thing off the back of this is, we talked about Gary O'Neill. Dave's right. He spoke so well on Sky last night, right? He could have went fucking mad. And Seany's right as well. He's probably going on a charm offensive to try, you know, if I shout and scream, it's not happening for me. So I go on a charm offensive and maybe the wheel will turn and, you know, it'll come back around to us. But when you look at how he acted last night, right? And you go back to, and this isn't a red tinted glass thing, this is actually a thing. Jurgen Klopp gets done for a ban, quite rightly, right? For a ban. For his attitude towards a fourth official, I think it was, right? And he gets this ban, right? One suspended or whatever, right? And then Virgil van Dijk gets done for a sending off, which you can argue over, but he's abusive towards a referee. He gets an extra game ban, right? And £100,000 fine. And it was basically, this is the precedent we're setting, right? And precedent seems to be a major issue with the Premier League, right?
Yeah.
Right? And then you've seen Heckingbottom go absolutely nuts after the Spurs game, Sheffield United at Spurs when they're beating in injury time. You've seen Arteta go fucking insane after Newcastle against Arsenal going back 4 or 5 weeks ago. And you've seen Lewis Dunk get sent off at Forest for, it's a yellow, and then he says something to the referee and he gets done. And it seems to be that even the consistency there, Keith, isn't there? And I'm not saying it because the Liverpool manager and the Liverpool player get done, because I think they were right to be done if that's what they've done. And it just seems to be, look, Gary O'Neill is now standing here going, I better not open my mouth because what's happened to teams before. But there's people, managers and players in between that are doing the exact same thing, Keith, and nothing's happened to them. Like Heckingbottom should be sitting there with a ban. So should Arteta. And Lewis Dunk should be £100,000 lighter in his pocket after the weekend. But that's not even happening.
Yeah, look, there is huge inconsistencies there, and it's one of them things. Like Gary O'Neill, I think he's handled it excellently. I think he's been very measured, but like, I don't know how, because the stuff that they've put up with, I think it's been fucking disgraceful. Like that game last night, I don't think either were penalties, and I think he was quite magnanimous by saying that he was willing to have a discussion about the second one. But even that, Joe Gomez is clearing a ball. He's not tackling. He's clearing a fucking ball, and your man gets in front of him. I think Fulham should have had 2 players sent off. I think, the American lad Tim Ream should have got a second yellow, and the headbutt by Carlos Vinicius, and he came out with some shite that he didn't headbutt him hard enough, and you're like, what?
Oh yeah. So if you swing and miss, it's all right.
That's what he said. That's what he said. Gary O'Neill said that they said, oh, look, we seen it was a headbutt, but there probably wasn't enough power in it. And you're like, what is happening here? And he's getting this every week. Every fucking week he's having these decisions. So he's probably in a thing saying,
if you swing a dig at someone and miss them,
that's what they're saying.
Yeah.
That's essentially what they're saying. And I think that's crazy. But he's having these decisions every week. I think if someone was entitled to go and say, listen, this standard of refereeing is abysmal in this league. We need something done about it. And he's been quite measured about it. You know, I think Mikel Arteta, for example, let's use him as an example. I think he was not unlucky. I think Arsenal were unlucky because I think there's a foul in that goal. I think Gabriel is fouled. He can't win the header and it goes in. So I genuinely think that's a foul. I think Mikel Arteta, the way he went on and the way Arsenal backed him, it was like it was the biggest injustice the world had ever seen. It was just a decision that went against them. Like Liverpool have had decisions, Everton have had decisions, everyone's had bad decisions. He came out, I was expecting him to be hammered and nothing. Heckenbottom again, nothing. Gary O'Neill's having this, like from the Wolves game at the start when Onana Bladen cleaned out Dawson, I think it was. We've gone through them all. Like, culminating in last night where there's 4 decisions that go against him. And he still has to just say, look, I think Seany's onto something that he's maybe trying to do the charm offensive, because I think he's looking at it and saying, if I say anything here, what are you going to do to me next week? Do you know what I mean? Like, how many?
But what are you going to do to his team next week? But
yeah,
it's not even that. It's Gary O'Neill is sitting there going, if I go mad, are they going to treat me like Jurgen Klopp, right? Or if I stay as I am and just be nice about it and be, whatever about it, am I just going to keep getting these results because they continue to see me as a soft touch because I'm just standing there going.
But he alludes to it, doesn't he?
He's played it really well because he's been really firm in what he said.
Yeah.
But he hasn't said it in a way that Wolves have had to put out a statement backing what he said. Do you know the sort of
But
way?
I thought he was quite clever in saying that, look, either I just accept it and we move on, or I can say that it's not good enough. So he's not really going to town on them, but he is sort of saying, look, this isn't good enough. Yeah. I think he's well within his rights to absolutely run amok about it because it's disgraceful what's happening. And when we were speaking about this, Gav, it's like, we can all have gripes for our own teams, and everyone, thinks they're getting hard done by.
No, Spurs are the most hard, or Wolves are the most hard done by team in the league.
I've never seen anything like the shit that's going against.
It's just mad. It's like when Wolves are in any position to win or even draw the game, they'll just find a way of doing something to them.
Yeah.
Do you know what I
mean? Do you guys not feel that when you see an apology come out the next day, like you've got Howard Webb or whoever saying, "Oh, we apologise."
Howard Webb must have writer's cramp at this stage.
Yeah.
Well, this is it. But when they do that, do you think they're doing it with a mentality of thinking, well, now we've done that, we're back with a clean slate and we can do something like that again?
Yeah.
Or
seems to be, yeah.
Or are you expecting that the manager of the other team that you've done it to can't really have a right to complain if it happens again because they've already apologised? I think they're trying to, it feels like they're trying to justify what the decisions have actually
they've
happened.
literally served a sentence by writing this letter, and you see that's the problem here. That's the problem here with the Premier League and the PGMOL and them all mixed together, right? They don't look to advance themselves. They don't look to learn. All they do is they make a mistake, they say sorry, and they just completely go back to what they were doing anyway. Because look, that's over and done with. If it happens again, we'll do another apology. Like, it's off the wall, mad. Like how bad it is, and it just continues to be that way.
There's no accountability, so there's
but there's no accountability, Seany, in the sense that if a manager comes out and screams blue order, he should be fined.
Gav, there's no jeopardy. There's no jeopardy. They've absolutely nothing to lose. Yeah. Anthony Taylor gets sent down to the Championship, makes an absolute bollocks of a decision.
Yeah.
Howler, like one of the worst decisions you'll ever see. And then the following week, he's doing the game of the week when it's Chelsea and Man City.
Yeah.
So there's zero accountability. There's no way around it. They've already pigeonholed themselves with refs not being able to do certain amount of games. Like fucking, there's only 20 officials, give or take, that they can assign to certain teams now because of the fucking bollocks that's gone through. We can't put him on with him. We have to give this fella a little bit of time off because they were all back after the Stags on the fucking VAR and they were all over the fucking place. There's no accountability. So there's nobody above them to turn around and say, like, you're not fit for purpose, and for that, you're out, you're gone. They sacked one of the managers after the Arsenal game last year, Arsenal-Brentford game. Can't remember, one of the refs, sorry. Someone in the chat now, but after the...
Bobby Madley, was it?
Yeah. No. Another baldy fella. They're all bald.
They're all bald. Yeah.
Yeah, leave the baldies alone.
They're all bald. That's why Clattenburg fucked off. He asked Clattenburg to shave his head and he said, fuck off.
There's no
Keith, you be refereeing next week, Keith.
Yeah, really.
Penno against Wolves.
Expecting them to be accountable is like fucking expecting the turkeys to bow at Christmas. It's not gonna fucking happen because at the end of the day, there's no jeopardy in it for them because it's a slap on the wrist and a week down the championship. Lee Mason, that's the one, and then. You back in, you go there, son, and by the time you get back in there, son, the heat will be on someone else because they will have to make the bollocks.
Yeah, they'll make a bollocks of some at the weekend, so you can slide into City and Chelsea the following week and no one knows. But the thing is, like, it's not even. We're asking for consistency in decisions that are made on pitch, right? And a process, and they've pushed back against this from the start. So part of me isn't surprised the way they carry on, but there's no consistency in the way they sanction anybody involved in anything. You know what I mean? There's no consistency on managers having a breakdown and saying whatever, players being abusive on a pitch. And I said it the other night, it's literally like they go, right, what's this week's special? I'll tell you what this week's special is. Jersey pulling, right? And if anyone pulls a jersey this weekend, there'll be 14 penalties in the Premier League. And then the following week, they'll just be back pulling jerseys and nothing will happen. Yeah. Right? What's the one? What's next? I'll tell you what we do this week, shouting at the ref, right? If anyone shouts at the ref, book them. And the next week you're fucking bawling at the ref and nothing happened. There's no consistency in their process. There's no consistency in their sanction. And there's certainly no consistency in the decisions they make week on week. Because all it takes is for them to turn around and use their head. But they don't. Because they think they're better than everyone fucking else. And that's the be all and end of it. They think they are supreme and they are above everybody in this game. And they'll call it as they see it and they don't care what happens. And yeah, Howard Webb will write a letter.
What way do you go about changing this? You
put them all on notice and you get rid of them. I've said this I don't know how many times. You put them on notice and you get rid of them. And people say, oh, well, like, where would you get the refs from? Trust me, if you go to refs around Europe that are top of their class and say to them, listen, do you want to come and work in the UK? And you're getting paid 150 grand a year up to possibly wherever. And they'll come.
The Newcastle PSG game tonight is considered the best ref in the world and he had a fucking nightmare at the end.
Yeah, well, all referees will, but what I'm saying is the biggest thing here is it's a mixture of ability and wanting to use the system, and these fellas do not want to abide by this system.
So if you go about what you've just said there, Gav, what you guys have just said there in terms of fuck them all off, go look around the best in the world, get them in.
Yeah.
Where's VAR go with that? Just keep that in? I mean, because that's still going to be...
Yeah, but the problem with VAR is that it's people from the PGMOL that are running the VAR. And what's happening is they all push against it. They're all mates. They're all this. They're all that, right? And that's the problem. They have pushed against VAR from the very start. It was delayed coming into England because of them. They didn't want to do this the first year. They didn't want to do this the second year. Now they're on to apologies. They can't even speak to each other and say that's a goal. They can't even... This season, they could not communicate that a goal was a goal. And I'm sorry, Dave, but if I'm in my job, and my job is to drive a fucking forklift from here to there, and I drive the forklift off the fucking load and bay continuously, I won't be driving a forklift next week. Yeah. They'll bring someone else in to drive that forklift, right? And people think it's a massive revolutionary thing to sack them off or bin them off. It's not. At the end of the season, this isn't working. We're not renewing the contract, right? And we go around Europe and we get whatever referees we want because the referees will make decisions and will walk within the system and will work to make the system work. They won't. They don't. They've never wanted to, and they never will, because they have this air of supremacy about them, and it won't ever, ever, ever go away. And one of the biggest reasons for it is the fact that Howard Webb is the fucking head of it now, right? Yeah. That's one of the biggest reasons. But anyway, Wolves, I hope Wolves do well at the weekend. I haven't a clue who they're playing, but they're probably 1-0 down already due to a fucking weird penalty. All right, so that's how it goes. Moving on, Dave, Everton. We spoke a couple of weeks ago. You were on with us, and we were speaking about what Everton. I think it was before Everton got their 10-point deduction. There's a lot going on around it, but I wanted to talk to you about the effect it's had on Everton. Right, whether it's right, whether it's wrong. Me and you might have to do a show on this another time where we just go in, drill into right or wrong. But I'm going to put it out there, Dave. I think the 10 points is not good. I think they still stay up because what's around them is appalling. But I watched them Everton players go onto that pitch at Goodison on Sunday, and genuinely, it was like they were standing in, I believe, in Istanbul at a mad away game, and they were looking around and going, what the fuck is going on here? And I think it showed in the first 25 minutes of performance. They're all out there and they're all being interviewed one after the other before the game. Oh, we're right in this, we're all together, we're this, that, and the other. And it's very kind of scriptish, right? And that's fair enough. But how long, Dave, before this drags players down if they're looking and they're 5, 7, 9 points off safety? How long before it just drags them down, feel sorry for themselves, and this turns into an absolute disaster for everything?
There's a bit of an ironic in what you've asked there, because beforehand, well, up to this point, we've only won one home game so far this season. That was home against Bournemouth. We've got an horrendous record at home. Goodison, again, ironically, has been a bit of a shit show for us for quite some time now. Not too sure why that is. And this is to do with what you've referred to in how they've stood up and looked when they've came in at Goodison, when everybody's screaming with, corruption cards on them and all that sort of thing. That's all well and good. That's what fans of most clubs are going to do if they've had injustices happen to them. For me, and looking more on the pitch than off it for a moment, I don't think that Sean Dyche and who he has to play around with hasn't found a system that works when we play at home. We'll go into that a little bit more deeper in a bit, I think. But I said that just before we started, and I said this on our podcast the other day about this. You have to appreciate at times that the people who are playing football are human beings. They have emotion. You've played games where, and we've just spoken a lot about it there, you've got you're looking at managers who are kicking up a fuss and getting all sorts of fines for things, and players as well. See players going off and they're crying and things like that. Us four went and played football. We'd have the same sort of mentality as everybody else who does it, who's a human being. That, I think, has been underplayed since we were given this deduction a couple of weeks ago now. Because you've got a load of lads coming on there. They spoke to Ashley Cole just before it started. And he said, well, you said it's all, there's no justice of it. We need to do this, we need to do that. They're just words. They're just words. When you come on at Goodison, and everybody was thinking that this first home game, against Man United, probably the best opposition you could find to play this game, when you're all pissed off, you don't want to kick off and throw things and fucking swear as loud as you like at Goodison. There's going to be a really hot atmosphere. All the sorts of things that you guys will hear when any derbies at Goodison. Oh, it'll be really difficult to go in there because we're hearing all this fuss and whatnot. I actually think that went against the players when they came on the pitch, and I completely agree with what you said. The way they looked, body language. I mean, there's been no precedent of any of this happening this way. I know we've seen deductions in the past with Pompey and Leeds and all that years gone by. This happens, and they're going onto a pitch where they've never experienced this sort of reaction. So in a funny way, I think the way us screaming our heads off as fans about injustices and all that stuff probably gone against them, because they're not aware of the context is constantly in their mind anyway. How we're in the bottom three. Luton won the day before, so we're 5 points away from getting out of the relegation zone. There's all of that in a pot as well there, and you add to the fact that you've got fans screaming all over the place. So if you think you put a pass out of the pitch, if you think you've thrown it out for a throw in by mistake, you're sitting there as a player thinking, fucking hell, these are going to bollock at me here because we're all screaming and shouting that we need to badly win this game. And I think the context of everything that went around it went far too against who we actually started in that game in the first 11.
Yeah, I just thought it was very strange, and I just when I was watching the game, I just thought to myself, these look overwhelmed by this. These look absolutely overwhelmed by this, and like Keith, I don't know if you watched the game, right? But they're holding up the cards, and they've every right to do that. If they feel the Premier League are corrupt, I don't know if corrupt is the right word. I think, I don't think there's a precedent for what's happened here. I don't think there's a precedent before it. I think their argument over 10 points, I think, is quite a valid one. When you think if you go into administration, you get taken off 9. So that's a valid argument to it. And the City thing, look, that's going to take an awful long time to sort. Simple as that. Simply because of the amount of charges that are there, and City aren't being upfront about it. Everton were. But Keith, when you watch the game, right, Everton fans aren't cheering for Everton. They're just cheering against everything else, and the players have to hear that. right? And then what happens is every decision that goes against you, you feel like, oh, look what they're at. And you just slowly but surely eat away at your own belief that you can get out of this.
Spot on,
Do you know
spot.
what I mean, Keith? It's and it's is it about channeling something in the right direction and saying, right, listen, what happens and decisions may be decisions, but we can't hold that against what's happened for this off pitch stuff, Keith. Because I think as bad as all them teams are down around there, I think Everton could be the worst enemy here if they continue to react to decisions on the pitch like it's been a follow-on from what's gone on off it.
Yeah, I think you've hit the nail on the head there, Gav. I think Everton could be our worst enemies. Seany touched on it earlier about and yourself, you might have said it as well, the shite that's down there this year. There's probably no better time to get a 10-point deduction for Everton than this season, because the standard, I seen something about Sheffield United out of the top 5 leagues in Europe, 96 teams, they're 96 ranked in most of the categories in it. It was staggering. They're absolute dirt. Everton are their own worst enemies in the sense, and you are spot on there. It didn't seem like it was a galvanising atmosphere. Now, Dave would know better. He's on the ground over there. He'd know.
No, you're right. You're absolutely spot on there. It's the exact opposite of what you'd expect. And
Yeah.
what you've said there, mate, saying that you become your own worst enemy when you're trying a little bit harder in something rather than staying relaxed and cool about it and taking it. What you've said there as well, again, I completely agree. And if there's a time for it to happen, if there was a Premier League at 20 for it to happen, now's the time. It's become a little bit too cliche given the Luton have started looking all right, looking like they're going to be battling this. Burnley and Sheffield United look like they're on their arse already, admittedly. But that's sort of where I think, well, that's where you need to take a step back and take the context out of your head with all of this. And I think you bang on there in terms of you become your own victim. The funny thing about that is as well, we've looked much better away from home in general before all this shit came along.
And stick
that theory, just stick with that.
Yeah, and that's, and Keith, that's another thing. Like,
that's the thing. Like, you can either use what's happened as like create a siege mentality, but it's a fine line between a siege mentality and then just being toxic. You know, and
it's never going out your mind, Sean. Is it? It's never going out your mind.
It's just
so try and get it out as much as you can.
It's more venom being spewed than fucking support to the players and a lift and getting behind and pushing the squad on. It's kind of like fucking, and look, however you feel about Everton and that punishment, I think Everton probably feel hard done by as a club because they've actually aided the Premier League in this investigation. And when you look at it that way, I think 10 points is probably a little bit heavy. But I don't know, am I being naive and just thinking that? I think that goal just knocked the bollocks.
Yeah, I was going to say that. Yeah. It couldn't have happened. There couldn't have been a worse thing to happen at the start of that game that they bang in a goal of the season job.
It's kind of like the old adage, keep it tight first 10 and don't give out up, and then that happens and you're
it does,
Seany. Shinned it though. I'm still not denying that he fucking shinned
Dave's convinced he shinned it. But the thing is, like, that goal is a joke, right? That goal is a joke. Yeah, but for the first 25, Everton are all over the place, and maybe it did knock the stuffing out of them. But for the last 20 minutes of the first half, United are all over the place. Like, genuinely at one stage, Luke Shaw, the ball is played to my left back and he actually crosses it into his own box for Everton to attack. And that's the truth. And if anyone doesn't believe me, go and check it out. Luke Shaw loops the ball up in the air for Calvert-Lewin to go and have a go at, right? And I'm thinking, right, United survived the half-time. Everton need to come out now and go for it. But Keith, they come out, a couple of decisions go against them, right? And all of a sudden, boom, players are on the floor. Crowd are on the floor. And United get a penalty, and then it just gets worse and worse. And half of them are out the gate before 90 minutes is up. Keith,
that's the theme. Sorry to interrupt, mate. Both the lads here, that's the theme you've both been on, and that's nailed it. Where you think you make that against you because it hasn't been given to you.
Yeah.
Rather than cracking on and thinking these bastards, we need to go and get them properly. Free kick that goes against you, or you don't get one that you think you should have, it's like fucking hell, the Premier
Yeah,
League
because
again. Everyone's
Sean
against
Dyche,
us, the refs against us, you know what I mean?
Sean Dyche on the penalty is actually seen, and I lip read him, and it's like, this is embarrassing, he says, when the penalty's given. And I'm like, Sean, you haven't seen the fucking replay. You're standing there, right, with your slightly undersized short as you lift your arms and go mad. Like, you haven't seen the replay. This boy has, and everyone has, and everyone that's seen is a penalty.
I think he was fuming that it was the fact that he still started Ashley Young.
Maybe so, yeah, and he continues to do it. But then again, I've listened to you about Nathan Patterson. I don't think he's much better.
I seen a great tweet yesterday, and it kind of sums up what we're kind of getting at in terms of Everton and the crowd. Like, I know we call them the Boo Boys, but some bloke put up a tweet yesterday, and it was like a collage of all the goings on at Goodison yesterday. And there's some bloke with an Everton Christmas hat, and he has a card stuffed down the front of it that says corrupt. And this fella just quote retweeted and going, "That's him. That's the fella who sits in front of me in the Lower Gladys. And every time Leighton Baines be taking a corner, I'd be screaming at him, 'Don't hit the first man, Leighton.' And Leighton Baines turns around and goes to him, 'I hear you saying that in my fucking sleep.'"
Well, I always say, and I've no problem saying it. Everton at 3:00 at Goodison, and you're watching it on your IPTV, and the microphone is right down beside everyone at the Bullens. It's incredible to listen to, because it usually, what happens is, it just ends up being, you can't hear the commentator, it's just one fella in the Bullens absolutely shouting the exact same thing for 90 minutes at just various people, and it's incredible. Like, I literally I wouldn't even watch the match, I just listen to it, because I just think it's amazing.
I have no idea to move this guy after.
Yeah, no, they're like, I think they're going down going, where is this fella again? Just stick the mic right in front of him, because it's fucking, it's probably more entertaining than what's going on the pitch. Keith, they're 5 points off the drop, right? They're 5 points off the drop. There looks like there's an appeal coming with regards to point deduction. They feel hard done by wherever. Boom. The protests, I presume, will continue on, whether they're home or away. But Keith, we've said it before. There's teams around them there that aren't good. I still fancy Everton with even Luton with a 5 point start to get out of this. And did he just have to decide, right, let that be dealt with over here? We are 5 points off the top of our table right now, and we need to overhaul it over 25 games. That's what they need to do, Keith.
Yeah, that's what they need to do, and I don't think they will. I think there's this sense of everyone's against us at Everton, and they feel like everyone's sort of, what we said there should be a siege mentality, but they're not getting that because their home form is so poor. Usually it'd be like, right, let's make Goodison a fucking bear pit for the rest of this season. But as Dave said, I think they've one of the worst records. What was 3 points or 4 points at home?
Played 5, won 1, lost 4, I think, at home. I think it might be something like
that. Funny enough, we lost to Fulham and Wolves in the first 2 home games.
Sorry, they played 7 at home. They've
lost
5, won 1, drawn 1.
Yeah.
So 4 points at home, but they've got a very good away record, and I don't know if that's conducive to a siege mentality. Do you know what I mean? Usually, are like, we're at home, we're going to make this place a fucking dump for people to come to. That'll intimidate the opposition, but it'll alleviate the Everton players, and you just don't see that happening. And that's where I'm like, why is that not happening? Now, I know you can't really judge it on Sunday because Garnacho gets that goal and
Keith, sorry to interrupt you, mate. Just that point you've made there on why you asked that question, why does it happen? I got pelters the other week for we drew 1-1 at home to Brighton. They scored in the last minute. You probably saw it. Really jammy goal they scored, but they had 7. And sadly, I did a bit of a study on this on every single game we've played, how much possession we have. On average, we have less than 40% possession every single game. I had a few Evertonians message me on Twitter, a couple of my friends saying, I can't go to Goodison and watch this anymore. I can't go and watch this when you've got 10 men sitting behind the ball all the time, and you've got the opposition who are just coming at you every single minute. And the question I put to them is really simple. Does it work? Well, look at the away games. Yeah, it absolutely does. The fact that they're under this pressure from our own fans when they come home and feel that we have to play with such a level of possession and positivity and attack all the time. The irony is that doesn't fucking work. You've seen away from home that it does work, and it's typical of Sean Dyche as well. If you look back on his
Well, he has to
history.
be braver, Dave. He has to be braver. He has to turn around and go, listen, I'm going away to Brentford. I'm going away to Palace. I'm going away to whoever else he won against, right? And I've decided I only want 25% of the ball, but I'm winning the game. And I'm doing the exact same. I'm doing the exact same at home to fucking Brentford at Goodison next week. And
yeah, you've got I'm telling you now, Gav, there's people that sit around me. You've got quite a lot of old people sitting around me, and you'll hear them saying, I've come all the way from where to watch this. I've had to pay to park my car. I pay this much for my season ticket. I'm not paying to come and watch yours play this shite. So I'm turning to and like having a lot of arguments with people saying, I'll pay as much as it takes for Everton to win a game. Look at the fucking scoreline before you start moaning about that we're not knocking and we haven't passed the ball a few thousand times like a Man City or you guys.
yeah,
Look at the fucking scoreline. You know,
it's all about.
And like I said, that's why I keep saying to you, away games. I can't wait for us against Forest away than anybody else at home right now.
Well,
Which is
I'm
crazy.
gonna
It's
get
crazy
into
to
that.
have that, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm gonna get into them now. A couple of. I just want a couple of predictions, obviously. Sorry, Seany.
Weren't Everton and West Ham two of the best teams in the lockdown football? Like they were fucking.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah.
Yeah.
The toxic fan bases were sort of kept away. West Ham got out of that. Yeah.
Just don't need any fans, mate. We just don't need any fans.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's just fucking the ground's closed this week, boys.
Yeah.
We've got the excuse, haven't we? We're going to the new stadium.
Do you know what they should do? They should just start taking 500 seats out of Goodison every week until they get to the level where they're going, right, listen, 24,000 is actually the magic number here, we're fine. Yeah. You know what I mean? And just randomly taking them out, you know, fucking 8 out of the Bullens, 17 out of the fucking Gladys Street, and people go, what's all this fucking room here? Oh, listen, we're just walking on something, don't worry about it. We're just slowly moving you cunts out of fucking here, we're not telling you. But look, it's gonna be interesting. I think the whole debate over the points deduction, the appeals, it's going to rock on. But I think for me, and I think we all agree, if Everton want to get out of this, they need to just really not park what's going on off the pitch. Just make that's an off the pitch issue. Let that be done. We're over there. Everton need to look and go, right, we need to get 6 more points than Luton this season, with 20 in the next 25 games, and whatever way we do it, by hook or by crook, playing fucking great football or just sitting behind the ball, whatever needs to be done has to be done, because people don't realise if Everton go down and this stadium's hanging around them, they are in a fucking world of trouble. And I mean a world of trouble. As an entity, they're in a world of fucking trouble. Because the only way they can get out of this is to get into that stadium, keep that money flowing in. If that money dries up and they're in the Championship, it doesn't matter what fucking stadium you have. It's actually a noose around your neck. And that's the truth. And we've seen it with clubs before. Nice stadiums go down all over the place. And that's where it is. But the weekend, a couple of games I picked out. Everton away at Forest, Newcastle host Man United on Saturday night, Liverpool versus Fulham, and Man City against Spurs. So I'm just going to go around the table before we run. Seany, let's start with Newcastle home to Manchester United. Where are you going with?
Newcastle win.
Oh, Dave.
Draw.
Keith.
Newcastle comfortable win.
Oh, well, you see, I'm going to go draw, because I think Newcastle, their numbers are starting to dwindle of the amount of players they have available. I've seen their bench tonight. Okay, fair enough. No one's really gone for United. Liverpool, Fulham. Fulham get the win last night. Liverpool get that good point at the Etihad. Sunday, 2 o'clock. Keith.
I'm at the game. Draw.
Oh, Jesus Christ.
No,
you know the rule though, don't you? If you go and you don't win, you're not allowed to go anymore.
Listen, Liverpool win. Comfortable.
Okay.
Easy peasy. Lemon squeezy.
Seany, Liverpool, Fulham.
3 points. I don't care what fucking way they come. Just 3
Dave.
points.
Home banker.
Okay. City Spurs. Spurs still without some players. I think Romero's still serving the ban.
Demolished.
Yeah, Seany, are they getting demolished?
They're going to get pammed.
Yeah.
Going to get pammed heavy.
Yeah.
I
It
think
feels
this
like
people are going on, people say that Spurs are a dodgy side. Like, Mourinho's beating Pep with Spurs, and Conte playing pragmatic ball, knocking her up to Kane and Son, who are as good as a tandem in the league at the time on the counter. This Ange fella, Look, big set of stones on him, but not much going on in between the Owlers, if you ask me, in terms of fucking playing a back four with Emerson Royale and Eric Dyer and having them sit on the halfway line. City will pick them off. I think they'll demolish them, honest to God. I genuinely think it'll be a demolition job, and then it's gonna be a kind of, all right now, Ange, you had your moment in the sun, mate. Chill out there for a minute and just fucking walk with what you have until you get your boy. And I admire it to an extent that he's having a go, but
I did until he put 8 men across the halfway line. As I said, the halfway line against Chelsea. That was.
See them getting panned. I can see them. I can genuinely see them getting panned.
Yeah, because like when he gets done with Chelsea at the time, it's like, you know, when you're playing FIFA and you hit the right on the D-pad, just get ultra attack, and you just keep fucking hitting it.
Yeah, this is what I'm saying. They tried. That was the 9 men or whatever it was at the end, but they were doing it on the weekend as well. And Villa were missing fucking chance after chance.
Yeah.
I was pulling me here. Watkins could have had a hat trick. Like, you're not gonna give chances up like that to City, because they will kill you. Because that's exactly what they did. They've the best finisher in world football.
Yeah, I think City win handy. Just because of the player spores are missing. And the centre half that you have to go in, I think your man Ben Davies is knocking about as well, which is.
And Bentancur is injured again.
He's out with 2.5 months.
Højbjerg got injured as well, did he?
Yeah, they're all injured. They're all injured. They're disappearing quicker than the seats of goodness in the fucking this stage under our new plan and our new regime. Demolished, says Seany. I think it's a handy win for City. Keith?
Demolished. Yeah, I couldn't agree more. I think they will be slaughtered. This Spurs team, I think Postecoglou got away with murder because of his persona and the way the press treated him. We said it before. They beat us in the 96th minute down to 9 fucking men. They were getting beaten by Sheffield United in the 92nd minute and turned it around. All right, you still get the win. I think they've been very lucky, and I think they were overhyped. And when they start losing players and they start losing James Maddison and then the injuries and the suspensions, I think they will be fucking slaughtered on whenever that game is. Absolutely, like 7-8-0. I think they will be malavogued beyond belief.
Yeah, okay. Dave, destroyed?
Yeah, honeymoon's over, isn't it, for Postecoglou? With like many others, I think you've sort of gone a bit too far in thinking that this genius who's come in from Celtic and Australia is going to be something totally different that he brings with him. Listened to him last week as well, and he said that he refuses to change the style that he's brought in with him. If he does that, particularly against Man City, I'm leaning towards what Keith, both the lads are saying there. 3, 4, 5 maybe. One bit of sympathy I have with him is that they've got a lot of shite in defence.
Yeah. And the reason I think he plays this high line with the shite was one or two of them had a bit of pace in Van der Ven and Romero. And he just went, listen, we're playing high because if I sit in my box, these fellas just can't defend. Do you know what I mean?
And then just worked out that the attacking side Chelsea was quicker than them as well.
Yeah. And then went, the best thing around this now is we've no pace, it's just leave 50 yards behind us to run into.
Yeah.
And we've 2 men less than the other team, which is bananas.
I can't believe they still got Kulusevski, by the way, because he's one of the best players in the league that needs to go somewhere else.
Yeah, well, he may do if it doesn't work. I really like him. Every time I see him, he's hard working. He's really good.
They were playing Brennan Johnson and Blade and Brian Gill at the weekend, and that's like fucking what's the Pro Evo teams make you up players on it, because there's no way that's a bleeding top 4 team. Brian Gill, they couldn't give him away. Couldn't loan that poor fucker out since they got him in. Yeah. And Brendan Johnson, and then Dave's mate Richarlison still scrubbing about as well there. I think
we'll get him back. He'll go down with us, mate. We'll get him back.
There you go.
Yeah, but didn't he have to get? Didn't he? What happened to Richarlison? There was a weird one with him. Some weird fucking
Richarlison. He's out for 6 months. He had to get that tattoo or a Neymar removed off his back.
He's definitely got his Everton tattoo fucked off now, anyway.
Yeah. Anyway, last one. Forest Everton. Seany.
I think Everton win. I'm not
saying it. I'm not saying it because Dave's here. I think they'll win.
I think it'd be because Forest want teams to come and try play expansive football against them and sit down. Whereas I actually think the type of game Deutsch will employ on Sunday will make it more difficult for someone like Forest, and I think that's where Everton will nick something, because they always, like, the core is fucking seems to always pull something out of the bag for Everton. I genuinely, I only had a look at the fixtures there, and I was thinking, I think it's probably the ideal team to play. And that's actually fucking mad saying about a team that's scrapping for points.
You were saying that last week, Sean.
Yeah, I know, but
weekend against the Manx.
Yeah, I know, but Luke Shaw was trying to fucking give his goals and he wouldn't take them. He's fucking all over the place. It was like the bleeding the goal at the park game was on wheels and people were just wheeling it back and across. It was like something out of fucking Gladiators where you had to hit the target. It was mad. I agree with you. I think what Forest wants you to do is come out and underestimate them and open yourselves up to them, and they're quite decent on the break. But they can see goals loads of fucking goals. And even if you watch Liverpool against Forest at Anfield, Liverpool get on top of Forest and then literally stand off and go, come on.
Actually,
Gav, you can have it for a minute.
Just remember the Regi's playing for Forest win.
Good job this is ended soon, you know, mate. Good job he finished soon.
Regi against Everton in December. Yeah.
Just pick me fair.
You know what's going to happen? Origi's going to be declared not fit, and the camera will pan to him in the stand, and when it comes back, the ball will just be in the net. They won't even be on the pitch.
Dave's like that dog meme there.
How do you turn this fucking thing off? Where's the button to turn this off? Bastards.
Sorry, Dave, we forgot about Divock. But no, I think if Everton go out there and say to themselves, you have the ball, because Liverpool done it to them at Anfield. Liverpool literally went to Forest. Come on, you have it. You come on, and Liverpool just picked them off and took them and picked them off. And I think they're easy to get at if you're disciplined. And I always go back to Everton's performance away at Man City last season, where they went in with 3 centre-halves, 2 wing-backs, and literally sat there and went, we're going fucking nowhere. Damari Gray, I think, gets the equaliser. And they just went and said, we're going nowhere. We're not interested. We'll keep this at 1-0 till the 85th minute, and then we might have a little bit of a go. And if Dyche is brave enough to do that away at Forest, I think they get a result. I think Everton come away with at least a point. But we're giving predictions, so I'm going to go Everton to win. Keith?
I agree. I think Everton win.
Oh, Dave, we're on fire here. Dave's having a breakdown. These cunts told me.
You set me up for this. All 3 you bastards have set me up for this.
I'll WhatsApp Dave on Sunday and he'd be like, fuck off. I want nothing to do with you. So, Keith, you agree?
No, I agree. No, I do agree. I think the away form that Everton have, and we touched on, they're better away from Goodison. So the further they can get away from there, the better. I think the protest that happened and the atmosphere that they generated in Goodison, it got knocked out of them with that late goal, you know, and any team it would be. I think they have to just brush that off now and say, right, we're going away. As you said, let them have the ball, keep Divock on the bench, and I think Everton will win that one. And I think they'll actually win it comfortably. I think they'll win it by a couple of goals, because I just think this is the thing that's working for them is their away form. And I think that's where they're going to do their push. I think if they don't do it here, they're probably a bit of trouble. But I genuinely think they can win it by a couple of goals.
Yeah, when I looked up the fixtures straight after the weekend, looked forward to this weekend. I'm only doing it because of our syndicate bit. I want to see what team I'm going to pick. And I seen that fixture. I went, do you know what? That's what Everton need. They need to go away to one of these teams that are going to.
Only have played Sheffield United as well, so that's another exception.
Well, they'll both lose that. Yeah. They'll both lose. They'll both come out with nothing out of that. Two. Poorly and Sheffield United will have less points this weekend after that game. Both of them. Dave, come on, let's make it a full house, Dave. We need positive vibes here for the F.
I think we'll get a draw. I think we'll get a draw.
Yeah. Dave refusing to align themselves with us 3 anchors, isn't he?
Well, yeah, that's the best way I can get away from Popeye.
Yeah, not aligning himself with these 3 pricks.
You boys will have seen him so far, but Jared Branthwaite has been
class.
He won't be at Everton in 18 months.
Mate, he's the only fellow we've got that you look at and think, yeah, he's not going to be here for a while because he'll go somewhere better.
He won't be at Everton in the next 18 months. Not a chance.
No, he won't. I'd see him gone in the summer, to be honest with you, mate.
Yeah.
The money we get for him might be ironically the thing that saves us, you know?
Yeah.
This game, your point you made about Forest themselves, still, funnily enough, another side that don't seem to fancy themselves at home too much. Watched Brighton against them the other day. They ripped them apart in the end. To go and
because they're asked, because at home you're asked to come out and take an initiative, and I don't think it suits Forest at all.
Yeah, so like you mentioned there before, I think they'll both be trying to give the ball to each other for so much
You'll
of it.
probably just have 11 Everton fans, players down one end, and the other lads down the other end, the ball in the middle, and they're just smoking. They're all standing there smoking, going, look, I'm not interested either, boy. Listen, give us a shout when it's 4:45 and we get out of here. It could be something like that, Dave, but it's a point in the end. It would be a point.
No, and that's why I think we have to get a result. Like, I mean that in a serious way. And in a long way, really, we desperately need the results in this because we've seen our next 3 home games.
I haven't, Dave, but I have a feeling I won't be picking you in my syndicate. That's all I'm going to say.
Newcastle, Chelsea, City.
Right. Okay. Well, there you go.
Everyone will slag Chelsea off because they've gone to shit under Pochettino, but still don't fancy having at home to them. So these away plans we've got so far, mate. That seems to be all that's going to get us some points at the moment. So, all fans need to work out a way of supporting us at Goodison that isn't toxic.
Yeah. Anyway,
don't draw it anyway.
Well,
we'll race on the fucking 27th of December. You'll be letting them tickle the belly anyway. No fucking doubt about it.
Yeah.
Who's the? Oh, City.
Yeah.
I'm gonna get their share for Christmas, mate. For you.
It's not the take. It's not the winning. It's the taking part. Do you remember that T-shirt?
That's what we'll be saying at
Christmas. Anyway, before this gets out of hand, we have to go. Listen, it's been an absolute pleasure, Seany. It's been an absolute pleasure, Keith. It's been an absolute pleasure, Dave. The people in the chat, it's been an absolute pleasure as always. If you want to become a member, very easy. Hit the join button. You can become a member. $3.99 a month. Loads of shows, including 2 tomorrow, 1 at 10 a.m. where we just have a cup of tea and talk about whatever we believe and want to, because it's their channel. We can do what we like. And at 10 o'clock tomorrow, Davo's coming on to pick his 3 players that he wants to play, former Liverpool players that he wants to pay tribute to. They are both member shows. If you're in the live chat at any stage and you see a membership gift going up, click on it and opt in, which means that if a gift goes up there, you have a chance to get 1 month membership and you can watch all our stuff for a month and then decide if you want to pay or not. We're trying to do that for you as well. Check out the Blue Room though. Honestly, it's honest. It's genuinely very honest, balanced Everton stuff.
You can have a laugh with it if you're red.
I don't miss it. I genuinely listen to it.
No, honestly, I think we have more reds than blues. The worst.
And I don't listen to it to laugh me head off. Like, I genuinely don't. I listen to it because if I want to go and get mad stuff about Everton, I can find it at the click of a button. If I want to listen about how actually what's going on at Everton and how things are going on or whatever it might be, or the game itself, I go and listen to you. That's being honest with you, yourself, Matt, whoever's on. They all seem sound fellas, and I don't know if they let me into the Denby Castle, but sure, listen, if I'm over there, sure, I'll go in if I want. Like, who's going to stop?
Well, they sponsor us, mate, so please make sure you come.
Yeah, I will. The next time I'm over, I'll go down to Denby for a point.
I need to catch up with you when you're over there.
Yeah, 100%. Well, listen, that has been Tuesday night. That has been the Premier League chat with me, Keith, Dave, and Seany. We'll talk to you soon. Oh, by the way, before we go, Emma Kavanagh claims that his dad used to do forklift racing years ago, right? And it's completely thrown me. He says he used to race forklifts, and I'm not over it. I'm just leaving that there.
Never lifted off.
Yeah. I can't get over it. Thanks a million. Talk to you in a bit. Over and out.
Forklift racing.